24th of July, 2025. We're up to the fourth section in Liber Secundus, second volume of the Red Book, entitled The Anchorite. Subtitled First Day. First Day. The handwritten draft has fourth adventure, first day. Corrected draft has first day evening. And firstly, this rather annoying footnote. So we're up to December 30, 1913, and in Black Book 3, Jung noted, all kinds of things lead me far away from my scientific endeavor, which I thought I'd subscribed to firmly. I wanted to serve humanity through it, and now, my soul, you lead me to these new things. Yes, it is the in-between world, the pathless, the manifold dazzling. I forgot that I had reached a new world, which had been alien to me previously. I see neither way nor path. What I believed about the soul has to become true here, namely that she knows her own way better, and that no intention can prescribe her a better one. I feel that a large chunk of science has been broken off. I suppose it must be like this, for the sake of the soul and her life. I find the thought that this must occur only for me agonizing, and that perhaps no one will gain insight from my work. But my soul demands this achievement. I should be able to do this just for myself without hope, for the sake of God. This is truly a hard way. But what else did those anchorites of the first centuries of Christianity do? And were they the worst or least capable of those living at the end? Hardly, since they came to the most relentless conclusions with regard to the psychological necessity of their time. They left wife and child, wealth, glory and death, glory and science, and turned toward the desert. For God's sake. So be it. So, December 30, 1913, the Anchorite. On the following night, I found myself on new paths. Hot, dry air flowed around me, and I saw the desert, yellow sand all around, heaped up in waves, a terrible, irascible sun, a sky as blue as tarnished steel, the air shimmering above the earth. On my right side, a deeply cut valley with a dry riverbed, some languid grass and dusty brambles. In the sand, I see the tracks of naked feet that lead up from the rocky valley to the plateau. I follow them along a high dune. Where it falls off, the tracks move off to the other side. They appear to be fresh, and old, half-worn away footprints run alongside. I pursue them attentively. Again they follow the slope of the dune. Now they flow into another set of footprints. But it is the same set that I've already followed, the one ascending from the valley. Henceforth I follow the footprints downward in astonishment. I soon reach the hot red rocks, corroded by the wind. On the stone, the footprints are lost, but I see where the rock falls off in layers, and I climb down. The air glows, and the rock burns my soles. Now I've reached the bottom. There are the tracks again. They lead along the winding of the valley a short distance. Suddenly I stand before a small hut covered in reeds and made of mud bricks. A rickety wooden plank forms the door where a cross has been painted in red. I open it quietly. A haggard man covered in a white linen mantle is sitting on a mat with his back leaning against the wall. Across his knees lies a book in yellow parchment with beautiful black handwriting, a Greek gospel without doubt. I am with an anchorite of the Libyan desert. The footnote. In the next chapter, the anchorite is identified as Ammonius. In a letter of December 31, 1913, Jung noted that the anchorite came from the 3rd century. There are 3 historical figures named Ammonius in Alexandria from this period. Namely, Ammonius, a Christian philosopher in the 3rd century, once thought to have been responsible for the medieval divisions of the Gospels. Ammonius Cetus, who was born a Christian but turned to Greek philosophy, and whose work presents a transition from Platonism to Neoplatonism, and a Neoplatonic Ammonius in the 5th century, who tried to reconcile Aristotle and the Bible. At Alexandria, there was accommodation between Neoplatonism and Christianity, and some of the pupils of the later Ammonius converted to Christianity. They, of course, enter into dialogue. I, am I disturbing you, father? Ammonius, you do not disturb me, but do not call me father. I am a man like you. What is your desire? I come without desire. I have come to this place in the desert by chance, and found tracks in the sand up there that led me in a circle to you. Ammonius, you found the tracks of my daily walks at daybreak and sunset. I, excuse me if I interrupt your devotion. It is a rare opportunity for me to be with you. I've never before seen an anchorite. Ammonius, there are several others whom you can see further down in this valley. Some have huts like me, others live in the graves that the ancients have hollowed out in these rocks. I live uppermost in the valley because it is most solitary and quiet here, and because here I am closest to the peace of the desert. I, have you already been here long? Ammonius, I have lived here for perhaps 10 years, but really, I can no longer remember exactly how long it is. It could also be a few more years. Time passes so quickly. Time passes quickly? How is that possible? Your life must be frightfully monotonous. Ammonius, time certainly passes quickly for me, much too quickly even. It seems you're a pagan? I, me? No, not exactly. I was raised in the Christian faith. Ammonius, well then, how can you ask whether time drags on for me? You must know what preoccupies a man who is grieving. Only idlers grow bored. Again, forgive me, my curiosity is great. What then do you occupy yourself with? Ammonius, are you a child? To begin with, you see that I am reading, and that I keep regular hours. I, but I can see nothing at all with which you could occupy yourself here. You must have read this book from cover to cover often enough. And if it is the Gospels, as I suppose, then I'm sure you already know them by heart. Ammonius, how childishly you speak. Surely you know that one can read a book many times. Perhaps you, perhaps you almost know it by heart, and nevertheless it can be that. Nevertheless it can be that when you look again at the lines before you, certain things appear new, or even new thoughts occur to you that you did not have before. Every word can work productively in your spirit. And finally, if you have once left the book for a week and you take it up again after your spirit has experienced various different changes, then a number of things will dawn on you. I have difficulty I have difficulty grasping this. The book remains one and the same, certainly a wonderfully profound, yes, even divine matter, but surely not rich enough to fill countless years. Ammonius, you are astonishing. How, then, do you read this holy book? You really always see only one and the same meaning in it? Where do you come from? You are truly a pagan. I, I beg you, please don't hold it against me if I read like a pagan. Let me talk with you. I'm here to learn from you. Consider me as an ignorant student, which I am in these matters. Ammonius, if I call you a pagan, don't take it as an insult. I used to be a pagan too, exactly like you as I well remember. Exactly like you as I well remember. Therefore, how can I blame you for your ignorance? I thank you for your patience, but it matters very much to me to know how you read and what you take from this book. Ammonius, your question is not easy to answer. It's easier to explain colors to a blind person. You must know one thing above all. A succession of words does not have only one meaning, but men strive to assign only a single meaning to the sequence of words in order to have an unambiguous language. This striving is worldly and constricted, and belongs to the deepest layers of the divine creative plan. On the higher levels of insight into divine thoughts, you recognize that the sequence of words has more than one valid meaning. Only to the all-knowing it is given to know all the meanings of the sequence of words. Increasingly, we try to grasp a few more meanings. I, if I understand you correctly, you think that the holy writings of the New Testament also have a doubleness, an exoteric and an esoteric meaning, as a few Jewish scholars contend concerning their holy books. Ammonius. This bad superstition is far from me. I observe that you are wholly inexperienced in divine matters. I must confess my deep ignorance about these things, but I'm eager to experience and understand what you think about the multifaceted meaning of the sequence of words. Ammonius. Unfortunately, I am in no position to tell you everything I know about it, but at least I will try to make the elements clear to you. Because of your ignorance, it will therefore begin elsewhere this time. What you need to know is that before I became acquainted with Christianity, I was a rhetorician and philosopher in the city of Alexandria. I had a great throng of students, including many Romans, a few barbarians, and also some Gauls and Britons. I taught them not only the history of Greek philosophy, but also the new systems, among them the system of Philo, whom we call the Jew. Ah, Philo Judaeus, also called Philo of Alexandria, 20 BCE to 50 CE, was a Greek-speaking Jewish philosopher. His works presented a fusion of Greek philosophy and Judaism. For Philo, God, to whom he referred by the Platonic term to on, the one, was transcendent and unknowable. Certain powers reached down from God to the world. The facet of God knowable through reason is the divine logos. There's been much debate on the precise relation between Philo's concept of the logos and John's gospel. On 23rd of June 1954, Jung wrote to James Kirsch, the gnosis from which John the Evangelist emanated is definitely Jewish, but its essence is Hellenistic in the style of Philo Judaeus, the founder of the teachings of the Logos. Philo Judaeus said at one point that the more perfect Logos um, crosses over from being heard to being seen to being beheld without ever crossing a quote quantizable moment of transition, in the words of one Terence McKenna. In any case, yeah, so Ammonius teaching his students. I taught them I taught them not only the history of Greek philosophy, but also the new systems, among them the system of Philo, whom we call the Jew. He was a clever head, but fantastically abstract, as the Jews are wont to be when they devise systems. Moreover, he was a slave of his own words. I added my own, and wove an atrocious web of words, in which I ensnared not only my listeners, but also myself. We rioted terribly among words and names, our own miserable creatures, and accorded divine potency to them. Yes, we even believed in their reality, and believed that we possessed the divine, and had committed it to words. Aye, but Philo Judaeus, if this is who you mean, was a serious philosopher and a great thinker. Even John the Evangelist included some of Philo's thoughts in the Gospel. Ammonius, you are right. It is to Philo's credit that he furnished language like so many other philosophers. He belongs to the language artists, but words should not become gods. In 1957, Jung wrote, until now, it has not truly and fundamentally been noted that our time, despite the prevalence of irreligiosity, is, so to speak, congenitally charged with the attainment of the Christian epoch, namely, with the supremacy of the word, that logos which the central figure of Christian faith represents. The word has literally become our God and has remained so. I would argue that that isn't really speech. It's not really the word as in the logos. It's derivative sophistry in any case. I I fail to understand you here. Does it not say in the Gospel, according to John, God was the Word? It appears to make quite explicit the point which you have just now rejected. Ammonius. Guard against being a slave to words. Here is the Gospel. Read from that passage where it says, in him was the life. In him was the life. What does John say there? 48. John 1, 1 to 10. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. What does John say there? Aye, and life was the light of men, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not understood it. But it became a person sent from God by the name of John, who came as a witness, and to be a witness of the light, the genuine light, which illuminates each person, came into the world. He was in the world, and the world became through him, and the world did not recognize him. That is what I read here. But what do you make of this? Harmonious. I ask you, was this logos a concept, a word? It was a light, indeed a man, and lived among men. You see, Philo only lent John the word so that John would have at his disposal the word logos, alongside the word light, to describe the Son of Man. John gave to living men the meaning of the logos, but Philo gave logos as the dead concept that usurped life, even the divine life. Through this, the dead does not gain life, and the living is killed. And this was also my atrocious error. I, I see what you mean. This thought is new to me and seems worth consideration. Until now, it always seemed to me as if it were exactly that which was meaningful in John, namely that the Son of the Man is the Logos, namely that the Son of Man is the Logos, in that he thus elevates the lower to the higher spirit, to the world of the Logos. But you lead me to see the matter conversely, namely that John brings the meaning of the Logos down to man. Ammonius. I learned to see that John has in fact even done the great service of having brought the meaning of the Logos up to man. Aye, you have peculiar insights that stretch my curiosity to the utmost. How is that? Do you think that the human stands higher than the Logos? Ammonius. I want to answer this question within the scope of your understanding. If the human God had not become important above everything, he would not have appeared as the Son in the flesh, but as the Logos. If the human God had not become important above everything, he would not have appeared as the Son in the flesh, but in the Logos. Footnote John 1 to 14, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Aye, that makes sense to me, but I confess that this view is surprising to me. It's especially astonishing to me that you, a Christian anchorite, have come to such views. I would not have expected this of you. Ammonius. As I have already noticed, you have a completely false idea of me and my essence. Let me give you a small example of my preoccupation. I've spent many years alone with the process of unlearning. Have you ever unlearned anything? Well, then you should know how long it takes. And I was a successful teacher. As you know, for such people to unlearn is difficult, or even impossible. But I see that the sun has gone down. Soon it will be completely dark. Night is the time of silence. I want to show you the place. Sorry, I want to show you your place for the night. I need the morning for my work, but after midday you can come to me again if you like. Then we will continue our conversation. He leads me out of the hut. The valley is covered in blue shadows. The first stars are already glittering in the sky. He leads me around the corner of a rock. We are standing at the entrance of a grave cut into the stone. The draft has Egyptian. In an Egyptian context, the water, dates, and bread would be offerings to the dead. Um, he leads me around a corner of a rock. We are standing at the entrance of a grave cut into the stone. We step in. Not far from the entrance lies a heap of reeds covered with mats. Next to it there is a pitcher of water, and on a white cloth there are dried dates and black bread. Offerings to the dead. Yeah. Ammonius. Ha, ha. Ammonius, here is your place and your supper. Sleep well, and do not forget your morning prayer when the sun rises. And a little bit of commentary before we have a section in a different voice. The solitary lives in endless desert, full of awesome beauty. He looks at the whole and at inner meaning. He loathes manifold diversity if it is near him. He looks at it from afar in its totality. Consequently, silvery splendor and joy and beauty cloak diversity for him. What is near him must be simple and innocent, since close at hand the manifold and complicated tear and break through the silvery splendor. No cloudiness of the sky, no haze or mist is allowed to be around him. Otherwise, he cannot look at the distant manifold in the whole. Consequently, the solitary loves the desert above all, where everything nearby is simple, and nothing turbid or blurred lies between him and the far away. Now we have this extended section in rather larger font in the original, although not embellished with images, which is italicized and as per Liber Primus seems to indicate a different voice or different manner of speech. Let's find out. Quote, the life of the solitary would be cold were it not for the immense sun, which makes the air and rocks glow. The sun and its eternal splendor replace for the solitary his own life warmth. His heart longs for the sun. He wanders to the lands of the sun. He dreams of the flickering splendor of the sun, of the hot red stones spread out at midday, of the golden hot rays of dry sand. The solitary seeks the sun, and no one else is so ready to open his heart as he is. Therefore he loves the desert above all, since he loves its deep stillness. He needs little food, since the sun and its glow nourish him. Consequently, the solitary loves the desert above all, since it is a mother to him, giving him food and invigorating warmth at regular hours. In the desert, the solitary is relieved of care, and therefore turns his whole life to the sprouting garden of his soul, which can flourish only under a hot sun. In his garden, the delicious red fruit grows that bears swelling sweetness under a tight skin. You think that the solitary is poor. You do not see that he strolls under laden fruit trees, and that his hand touches grain 100-fold. Under dark leaves, the overfull reddish blossoms swell toward him from abundant buds, and the fruit almost bursts with thronging juices. Fragrant resins drip from his trees, and under his feet thrusting seed breaks open. If the sun sinks onto the plain of the sea like an exhausted bird, the solitary envelops himself and holds his breath. He does not move, and is pure expectancy, until the miracle of the renewal of light rises in the east. Brimful, delicious expectation is in the solitary. The drought continues. Walking around in a circle, I happen to return to myself and to him, the solitary one, who lives down in the depths hidden from the light, held securely by the warm bosom of the rock, above him the glowing desert and sharp, resplendent skies. The horror of the desert and of withered evaporation surround him, and you do not understand how the solitary can live. But his eye rests on the garden, and his ears listen to the source, and his hand touches velvet leaves and fruit, and his breath draws in sweet perfumes from blossom-rich trees. He cannot tell you, since the splendor of his garden is so abundant. He stammers when he speaks of it, and he appears to you to be poor in spirit and in life. But his hand does not know where it should reach in all this indescribable fullness. He gives you a small, insignificant fruit. He gives you a small, insignificant fruit, which has just fallen at his feet. At his feet. It appears worthless to you, but if you consider it, you'll see that this fruit tastes like a sun, which you could not have dreamt of. It gives off a perfume which confuses your senses and makes you dream of rose gardens and sweet wine and whispering palm trees. And you hold this one fruit in your hands, dreaming, and you would like the tree in which it grows, and you would like the tree in which it grows, the garden in which this tree stands, and the sun which brought forth this garden. And you yourself want to be that solitary who strolls with the sun in his garden, his gaze resting on pendant flowers, and his hand brushing 100-fold of grain, and his breath drinking the perfume from 1,000 roses. Dull from the sun and drunk from fermenting wines, you lie down in ancient graves, whose walls resound with many voices and colors of 1,000 solar years. When you grow, then you see everything living again as it was. And when you sleep, you rest like everything that was, and your dreams echo softly again from distant temple, and your dreams echo softly again from distant temple chants. You sleep down through the 1,000 solar years, and you wake up through the 1,000 solar years, and your dreams, full of ancient lore, adorn the walls of your bedchamber. You also see yourself in the totality. I understand precisely what he means, I have to say. Now we're back to the non-italicized commentary. You sit and lean against the wall and look at the beautiful, riddlesome totality. The summa, the whole, that's Latin for whole, summa. The summa lies before you like a book, an unspeakable greed, and an unspeakable greed seizes you to devour it. Consequently, you lean back and stiffen and sit for a long time. You are completely incapable of grasping it. Here and there, a light flickers. Here and there, a fruit falls from high trees, which you can grasp. Here and there, your foot strikes gold. But what is it if you compare it with the totality, which lies spread out tangibly close to you? You stretch out your hand, but it remains hanging in invisible webs. You want to see it exactly as it is, but something cloudy and opaque pushes itself exactly in between. You would like to tear a piece out of it. It is smooth and impenetrable like polished steel. So you sink back against the wall, And when you have crawled through all the glowing hot crucibles of the hell of doubt, you sit once more and lean back and look at the wonder of the Summa that lies spread out before you. Here and there are light flickers, here and there are fruit falls. For you, it is all too little. But you begin to be satisfied with yourself, and you pay no attention to the years passing away. What are years? What are years? What is hurrying time to him that sits under a tree? Your time passes like a breath of air, and you wait for the next light, the next fruit. The writing lies before you. The writing lies before you, and always says the same if you believe in words. But if you believe in things in whose places only words stand, you never come to the end. And yet you must go an endless road, since life flows not only down a finite path, but also an infinite one. But the unbounded makes you anxious, since the unbounded is fearful and your humanity rebels against it. Consequently, you seek limits and restraints so that you do not lose yourself, tumbling into infinity. Restraint becomes imperative for you. You cry out for the word which has only one meaning. You cry out for the word which has one meaning and no other, so that you escape boundless ambiguity. The word becomes your God, since it protects you from the countless possibilities of interpretation. The word is protective magic against the daemons of the unending, which tear at your soul and want to scatter you to the winds. You're saved if you can say at last, that is that, and only that. You speak the magic word, and the limitless is finally banished. Because of that, men seek and make words. In 1940, Jung commented on protective word magic and transformation symbolism in the Mass. He who breaks the wall of words overthrows gods and defiles temples. The solitary is a murderer. He murders the people because he thus thinks and thereby breaks down ancient sacred walls. He calls up the daemons of the boundless, and he sits, leans back, and does not hear the groans of mankind, whom the fearful fiery smoke has seized. And yet you cannot find the new words if you do not shatter the old words. But no one should shatter the old words unless he finds the new word that is a firm rampart against the limitless and grasps more life in it than in the old word. A new word is a new God for old men. Man remains the same even if you create a new model of God for him. He remains an imitator. What was word shall become man. The word created the world and came before the world. It lit up like a light in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. And thus the word should become what the darkness can comprehend. Since what use is the light if the darkness does not comprehend it? But your darkness should grasp the light. And yet you cannot find the new words if you do not shatter the old words. But no one should shatter the old words unless he finds the new word that is a firm rampart against the limitless and grasps more life in it than in the old word. A new word is a new God for old men. Man remains the same even if you create a new model of God for him. He remains an imitator. What was word shall become man. The word created the world and came before the world. It lit up like a light in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. And thus the word should become what the darkness can comprehend, since what use is the light if the darkness does not comprehend it? But your darkness should grasp the light. The God of words is cold and dead, and shines from afar like the moon, mysteriously and inaccessibly. Let the word return to its creator, to man, and thus the word will be heightened in man. Man should be light, limits, measure. May he be your fruit, for which you longingly reach. The darkness does not comprehend the word, but rather man. Indeed, it seizes him, since he himself is a piece of the darkness. Not from the word down to man, but from the word up to man. Not from the word down to man, but from the word up to man. That is what the darkness comprehends. The God of words is cold and dead, and shines from afar like the moon, mysteriously and inaccessibly. Let the word return to its creator, to man, and thus the word will be heightened in man. And thus the word will be heightened in man. Let the word return to its creator, to man, and thus the word will be heightened in man. Man should be light, limits, measure. May he be your fruit. May he be your fruit, for which you longingly reach. The darkness does not comprehend the word, but rather man. Indeed, it seizes him, since he himself is a piece of the darkness, not from the word down to man, but from the word up to man. That is what the darkness comprehends. The darkness is your mother. She behooves reverence, since the mother is dangerous. She has power over you, since she gave birth to you. Honor the darkness as the light. Honor the darkness as the light, and you will illuminate your darkness. If you comprehend the darkness, it seizes you. It comes over you like the night with black shadows and countless shimmering stars. Silence and peace come over you if you begin to comprehend the darkness. Only he who does not comprehend the darkness fears the night. Through comprehending the dark, the nocturnal, the abyssal in you, you become utterly simple. And you prepare to sleep through the millennia like everyone else. And you sleep down into the womb of the millennia, and your walls resound with ancient temple chants. Since the simple is what always was, peace and blue night spread over you while you dream in the grave of the millennia. That being the fourth section in Liber Secundus, second volume of the Red Book, entitled The Anchorite. Or fourth adventure, first day.